So, if you were online recently and it felt like the whole internet just broke, yeah, you were not imagining things. A massive chunk of the web just vanished, and millions of us were left staring at this really weird, confusing error. We're going to break down exactly what happened, why it happened, and what it says about the internet we all use every single day.
So, does this look familiar? This weird, cryptic message? Please unblock challenges.cloudflare.com to proceed. It was just everywhere. And the confusing part, most of us knew we hadn't blocked anything. It felt like your car telling you there's a problem with a tire that you know is perfectly fine. It just didn't make any sense.
And the scale of this thing was just wild. We're talking about the heavy hitters here. X, ChatGPT, Discord, all just ground to a halt. You couldn't use Canva, you couldn't listen to Spotify, even AI tools like Gemini and Perplexity were completely knocked out. This was way more than a small glitch. We're talking about thousands of major services just gone.
All right, so let's get into the first big mystery. What in the world did that error message actually mean? Well, the most important thing to know is that this wasn't your fault. It wasn't your computer, it wasn't your browser, it wasn't anything you did. The problem was way deeper inside the internet's plumbing.
Yeah, this really gets to the heart of it. The message made it sound like you were the problem, like you had some ad blocker or firewall that was causing the issue. But what was really happening behind the scenes was something else entirely. It was basically the service saying, hey, our server that checks if you're a real person is broken, so we can't let you in. And that brings us to this key domain, challenges.cloudflare.com. Normally, this thing is like the internet's bouncer. You know, it's the system that runs all those little checks, the CAPTCHAs, the I am not a robot boxes, to make sure you're a human and not some malicious bot trying to cause trouble. It's a super important security check for millions of sites.
And that is exactly where the whole system fell apart. The real culprit was a massive failure at a company called Cloudflare. They were hit with widespread 500 internal server errors, which is tech speak for our own stuff is broken. Because their systems were down, that human verification step couldn't happen, and the door was slammed shut for pretty much everyone.
So, of course, that leads to the next obvious question. Who is this company, Cloudflare? And how is it possible for one company to have the power to cause this kind of global internet meltdown? Let's pull back the curtain on one of the internet's most important gatekeepers.
The easiest way to think about it is like this. When you type in a website like ChatGPT, your request doesn't go straight to their servers. Instead, it hits Cloudflare first. Cloudflare acts like this giant security checkpoint and express lane. It scans your request for anything dangerous, and then it delivers the website to you from a super fast server that's physically close to you. It's all about making the web faster and safer.
And man, Cloudflare does a lot of jobs. It's a content delivery network, a CDN, which makes sites load faster. It protects them from those massive DDoS attacks that try to knock them offline. It handles security, DNS, proxy services. I mean, the list goes on. It's basically a critical, all-in-one toolkit that a huge chunk of the modern web depends on.
So once you realize just how many hats Cloudflare wears, you start to see how the dominoes fell. When a company that is so deeply integrated into the very structure of the internet has a problem, it doesn't just cause a small splash. No, it creates a tidal wave. And if you want to understand the true size of that tidal wave, you really only need to know one number: 80%.
That's right. Some estimates put Cloudflare's control of the content delivery network market at an incredible 80%. That means the overwhelming majority of websites that use these services to be fast and reliable are all betting on one company. And when that one company has a bad day, the whole internet feels it. And here's the best part, the real irony of the whole situation. When everything went down, what did we all do? We rushed over to sites like Down Detector to see what was going on. But they were down too. And why? You guessed it, because they also use Cloudflare. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It just perfectly shows how deep this dependency goes.
This whole incident kind of forces you to zoom out and ask some bigger, more fundamental questions, doesn't it? Questions about the very way we've built the modern web. Is it maybe a little more fragile than any of us realized?
And, this Cloudflare outage didn't just happen in a vacuum. It's actually part of a pretty worrying pattern. I mean, just in the past few months, we've seen huge outages from the other giants too. Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure. It really feels like the core pillars holding up the internet are taking turns having a really bad day.
And what this all points to is one simple fact. The internet, which started as this beautiful, decentralized idea, has become incredibly centralized. The performance, the security, the very stability of the online world now basically rests on the shoulders of just a handful of giant companies. And that really leaves us with one final big question to chew on. Because, let's be honest, it's not a matter of if an outage like this happens again, it's really just a matter of when. So you have to ask yourself, just how strong, how resilient is an internet that puts all of its eggs in so few baskets? It's definitely something to think about.